Welcome back. Well, another hot topic at the moment is, should our police be armed? I mean, you go to Australia, you see them at the airport there, they're armed. Let's start with you this time, Marc. We'll go down the other end of the table.
I think the police should be armed with the proviso that they get more than the 17 weeks of training that they presently do. I think 17 weeks is absolute bare minimum. It's one of the lowest amounts of training that any police force has anywhere in the world. Countries like Chile have 3 years. So I think we need to up the amount of training that police get, but absolutely give them the weapons, give them the tools to do the job. Who would want to be a policeman right now, being put into incendiary situations, being unable to protect yourself? It's crazy, absolutely lunatic.
What about tasers, though? Surely they're going to do the same job, sort of?
Tasers have a great use in a lot of situations, but there are some situations for which you just need a firearm and you need to protect yourself, and it's shoot to kill. You don't give them the option of a second chance to get back at you. In the States, where I lived for 7 years, the cops had a great deal of respect. If they told you to get out of the car, to go here, go there, whatever it was, you did it. The only people that didn't were the ones that were on the wrong side of the law. So,
surely, though, Rosemarie, if we arm the police, like we know now that the police do carry arms in their cars, but if we arm the police, aren't we just going to escalate the whole violence in our society?
Look, I'm not the most well-informed person on the subject, but I do believe in arming the police. And it's interesting, that stat that you have about the police being well respected in the States, because it's possibly one of the more corrupt police forces you could have in the world, and I certainly don't believe that New Zealand has that. So what the big fear, it seems, is that these guys will be coming out there and loosely firing at people in situations that they could manage otherwise, and I don't believe that to be the case with the police force that we have. So I say yes, arm them. They deserve to be respected, and they deserve to be able to resort to that in a situation which has become beyond their control.
There are people who say that, you know, arming them isn't the answer, and that, you know, if they have tasers, then it's all good. But I think we saw the situation in Buccleuch Street the other day. The taser didn't do any good. They tried tasing him, it didn't work. I think for some reason,
I think the taser was left in the car, wasn't it?
I heard that they tried, a taser was used, but it didn't work for some reason.
Well, so, that's the other thing, is that don't you have to get into a close range to be able to effectively use a taser, which you don't always want to do if someone's wielding a shotgun at you.
Exactly.
Oh, hello, I've got my taser.
Well, here's the thing, and this is an interesting statistic. It's a little bit off topic, but people always, people who are very keen to have the police do their dirty work for them by keeping them safe, but also want to disarm them, citing that the criminals are the ones that are going to, you know, up the ante, so to speak. What they should remember is, for example, in Florida, murder rates fell 52% after the 1987 gun concealment laws came into effect. And when they interviewed criminals, most of them said, we don't go into areas where we think people might have guns and shoot back at us. Now, if that works in a country where basically the horse is already bolted and everybody's got guns, how much more effective will it be in a country like New Zealand, where if the police are armed, they can do their job more effectively and have the public back them up a little bit more than they presently do, I think, and give them a little bit more of a, you know.
I believe in Australia too that the armed offender call-out rates are similar to ours, and the statistics are very similar, but the deaths resulting from guns is a lot lower, for some strange reason.
And so that's the point too, isn't there? There's a hysterical outcry about arming our police force on the basis of what could happen, where there is nothing to statistically prove that our guys are going to go out there and start, you know, firing when they shouldn't be firing. And the only times someone has been shot by a member of the police force is when they're acting in a threatening manner. There's been no innocent member who was minding their own business shot by the police force.
Oh, apart from the guy up in Auckland who last year, the young guy up in the courier van.
Oh, right, yeah.
But
it's an unfortunate
bystander, the situation.
So,
but I think this is what my point is that we're saying that if we give them the ability to go out and shoot at people, that we're going to have all these people shot that shouldn't be in the first place, and we're back to situations like car chases. We're going all out in defence of the bad guy. And what about the good guys?
Also, don't forget the gun would be a last resort. I mean, we have tasers now and various other forms of controlling people.
But I mean, when the police are going to, and we obviously can't talk about what happened here the other night too much because it'll be sub judice, but you know, the police are going to investigate what is obviously going to be a minor sort of a crime, and you know, you wouldn't expect somebody to be coming out guns blazing, would you really?
I mean, why are we always giving the criminal the benefit of the doubt at every opportunity? They're not the ones that abide by the laws. They're not the ones that have, you know, the rights read to their potential victims. We're always handicapping our cops. We're always handicapping the innocent and the lawful in preference to their rights. And you know, it's a pendulum. It's got to swing back the other way. I think for once we've actually got to start defending the rights of the innocent a lot more forcefully and backing our police a heck of a lot more.
I don't believe it's going to be an arms race between criminals and police. I think if you arm police, then it'll give them a lot more power, a lot more authority, and a lot more respect, which I think is sadly lacking today. You know, young people just have absolutely no respect for the police whatsoever.
Oh no, they don't.
That's right.
These tough guys the other day just came out with weapons to two unarmed guys and a dog. I mean, you know.
I suppose it's sort of a bit on the topic, though, not, you know, what we're talking about. Another thing that interests me, when these criminals do go before the court, and I'm sure you're going to have varying opinions on this, should their previous convictions be placed before the court or before a jury before they are judged?
Absolutely, providing it's pertinent to the current case. In other words, if you have, say, a person coming up for rape, and they've been up for rape charges before, absolutely. What we don't want to see is somebody who's stolen a couple of, you know, candy bars at the age of 12 and having that brought up. That's irrelevant. But if it's relevant to the case at hand, absolutely. Yep. You know the direction that an arrow is aiming for by where it's left, and it's the same thing. You can tell a lot about a person by their previous convictions.
That's true, but you know, then there's the old saying, you've done the crime, you've done the time, do you not start again afresh, or should that count too much? I'm just being devil's advocate here, but...
Well, to counter that, the simple fact is 84% of people that leave prison are back in prison within 5 years. That tells you something. Yeah,
it does actually. It tells me that our money should be less spent on, well, on prisons, but maybe just educating young people and teaching them how to be good parents. Put the ambulance at the top of the cliff instead of the bottom. But that's a whole new topic, isn't it, really?
Rosemarie?
I tended to agree with Marc on that point, is that would be the diplomatic way to go. Just as, again, an individual in society, I think that often what they've done historically can characterise how they are today. So even if it was a previous rape conviction and they're up for another rape charge, what if it was an armed robbery before? It still goes to show that it's possibly someone that information will help lead a jury to the right decision.
What about DNA collecting at birth?
Yeah, why not? If you've got nothing to fear and nothing to hide, then
well, you haven't when you're born. You haven't when you're born. But, you know, what about collecting DNA off every baby at birth and having a register?
Yeah, I personally don't have too much trouble with that, to be honest. I really don't think that's an encroachment of your freedom.
No,
in any way at all, because it doesn't prejudice you one way or the other.
I struggle with how these civil libertarians can be against something like that. I really do. I wonder what their motivations are.
Well, look, after the break, talking about civil libertarians, we are going to be discussing two really interesting topics. One is obesity in New Zealand, and the other one is the burqa. We'll see you back shortly.